Hello, welcome back to another interview on the Bird Real Estate Podcast Show. I am your host, Bruce Bird Jr., also known as Boss Man Bruce. Today we have a special guest today, but as you know, our goal and mission on my platform is just not to educate, but to motivate those like-minded individuals to take a leap of faith, no matter your circumstances, no matter where you may be, by the people I interview, to give you that push that you need. On today's episode, we have Emma Powell. She's a mother of 6.
Hey there.
She's married. She's in real estate. They're to help you build passive income portfolio by identifying and managing cash flowing multifamily investments in key markets around the United States. They currently own and have an exit several hundred units in the best markets around the country, including Austin, Texas, where they're from, Salt Lake City, Utah, Florida, Idaho, Kentucky, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Ohio. Can you guys please help me welcome Emma Powell? How you doing today, Emma?
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on and just giving your experience. Just not experience of just real estate, but experience of things, pros and cons in life, period.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. Trying to figure out how to make it all work and make it all fit. So we're become experts in time management.
We all need time management. I don't think we have the proper etiquette to really prioritize things correctly in our life. We just be everywhere. So, but we're gonna get straight to the interview. My first question is, as you know, it's a 3-part interview. The first part is, who is Emma Powell? Not the real estate lady, but who is she as a woman?
I'm very adventurous and I like to do a lot of different things. And so really my husband said something to me the other day. He recently lost his W-2 job and he has a severance for the next couple of months. And so he can't collect unemployment during that time. So basically he's like, let's do this full time. We had been planning on having him quit his job and come on full time. And we were wondering, like, are we ready? Can we make this work? Can we do this? And he said, we're going to be fine. He said, a couple of years ago, when you first told me that you were going to be into real estate investing, he said, I just thought that, yes. And I said, well, you never really communicated that to me. You told me that you were very supportive. I said, but you never told me that you were really that excited about it. And he says, no, because I knew that this was another thing that you always do, where you get something new and you go down the rabbit hole and you just exhaust every resource. You learn all about it. You get really obsessed with things. And he said, but this was the one that was going to make us wealthy, versus all the other things that I've ever done, where I'm like, I want to learn how to play the piano and I spend months on it, or I want to learn how to play this sport and I spend months on it. And he said, this was like the one thing you finally decided to do that I was like, all right, now we're getting into the wealth building. And he said that he just has gotten to know me over the years, and that's just how I am. So whether it's some new hobby, some new sport, talent, activity, traveling, homeschooling, whatever it is, I just love learning and I love trying new things, and I love to go on adventures. So that really encapsulates me, because every little thing that I like to do, you never know what it's going to be at any given moment.
Man, that's amazing. Like I feel your excitement. It's like your husband more excited than you. He's like he had that fire.
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing to have a supportive spouse as you do. Definitely been an entrepreneur, because where, in relationship nowadays, if a woman's doing more than a man, or anything like that of that nature, it seems like it causes jealousy sometimes, in homes, not particularly your own, but in homes I've seen, like, somebody could have a great idea and they just shut it down, not even just coming together like, hey, let's put that vision in place, So another question. So you play the piano?
Yeah, you name it, I've tried it. Yeah, I play actually the organ at our local church on
Okay.
Sundays for the congregation, and that's a good example of one of those things that I just really wanted to learn how to do.
Mhm.
And about when I was about 40, they asked me if I would help out. And I was like, I'm not really very good at this. And I was really
Mhm.
nervous. So I started playing for the children's choir. And then maybe about a year later, they asked me if I would play the organ for the congregation. And that's a perfect example. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a lot of practice. I didn't have a lot of experience. I was making a lot of mistakes. And so I just created some systems that would break it down and make it easier for me, which is the same thing that I did with real estate. You look at like, what skills do I have? Where am I? And where do I need to get to? And what's the plan to get there? So for the piano, I would print the music up large and put it in a binder. And then I would get out a little bottle of whiteout. I would start whiting out the notes that I didn't think I could hit. And if I was playing it and there was a tricky part that was giving me a hard time, I would just get out that whiteout and white out a couple of the notes until I could get through it. And so I don't have to white the notes out anymore. I'm still not that great, but it's just an analogy of the same thing I did in real estate, where it's like, okay, what do I do? What skills do I already have? I have a degree in entrepreneurial management. I've run
Mhm.
businesses before. I do a lot of marketing and graphic design.
Mhm.
And I realized that raising capital and attracting investors is mostly about marketing. I was sitting in a seminar on how to raise capital, and I was listening to, they were like, you got to start a podcast, you got to get social media active, you got a website, you get yourself a video introduction, all these kinds of things. I was just thinking, like, I already do all of that in the marketing field.
Mhm.
I just do that for capital raising. So it wasn't actually that big of a stretch. Like, I thought it was going to be like, wow, real estate's way out of my wheelhouse. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what I'm doing. And when I realized, here's what I have, here's what we need to have, and there's just a middle ground in there where I basically just need to pull out my whiteout and fake it until I make it, or just simplify it down until I'm able to get to the real version of what we're supposed to be doing here. So that's kind of how I do everything. I just simplify it until I I can get to where I need to be. I don't have to be an expert. I just have to be good enough to make things happen.
Man, that's excellent. Like, man, that's excellent. So, your church. So, how long you been attending your church?
Uh, College and got married, and I think that experience of being raised in a community and having that tribe around you was really important to me. So I went through a faith crisis. Oh, it's been a while, maybe 20 years ago,
Mm,
and really just kind of lost my way and felt
mm,
like I had to maybe stop going to church. Like, if I don't believe in God, or if I don't believe in what's being taught, maybe I shouldn't be there. And I was very, very sad. I was very upset. I
mm,
didn't want to stop going, but I felt like if I kept going, I would be a fraud. And then I heard somebody say one time that asking sinners not to go to church is like asking fat people not to go to the gym. And I
mm.
thought, well, I mean, I'm a sinner. I don't know
Right.
what I believe, but if I want to be there, everybody's welcome. And
Yeah,
so I just decided, like, if I like it and I want to be there and I want to raise my kids in the same religion, the same community and culture, I'm just going to keep going. So I've been just keep going for the last 20 years, and I don't pretend to know what's what or tell people what I believe. I just know what I want to be true, and I figure that's the best kind of faith there is.
the crazy thing about it, people forget that God said, "Come as you are."
Yep.
We ain't talking about clothes. We talking about things of who you are, your flaws, your imperfections. Bring that to me. I can make you whole again. I
Yeah.
can make you whole. I know what you came to this world with. I know what you had to encounter coming on along this journey. See, people forget that God do stuff with filthy things, as He did with David, as He did with Moses, as He did with even Joseph in the Old Testament. As He did even with the disciples. They didn't come all prepared and we got all this faith in the world. No, it was a process. It was a press they had to encounter. And we have to really embrace that, and we don't embrace that enough. We want to experience a great God come at you, or don't hide nothing from God as Cain did when he killed Abel. You know, that's my analogy on that. Like, we want to experience this great God, this powerful God that can, wipe away our sins, but we ain't bringing no real problem to him.
Well,
We
I
ain't
think
bringing.
I think that actually that analogy, it strikes me. I've never really been able to figure out before. People say, like, how do you just go do things? How do you just get done what you need to get done, even though you're no good at it? I mean, the whole whiteout analogy is like, I feel like my experience 20 years ago when I was contemplating, like, do I need to stop going attending church if I don't really believe, or if I don't know what I believe? I feel like God invited me, like, you just come as you are. The church invited me, just come as you are. And it goes back to that whiteout. Like, maybe there was a big bottle of whiteout that got used on me. Like, you're not perfect, but we're just gonna white out the parts of you that don't fit, that don't work, and you don't need all of that. Just do your best and bring it in. And so I think that experience has really shaped and molded me over the past 20 years. So when I want to take on something difficult or something intimidating, I know I don't need to be perfect at it. I just need to be adequate. And maybe that's why because people ask me, like, how do you do this? I don't know. I can't explain it, but that's probably it. Just getting over the fact that I have to be perfect at something to even start. I mean, the first step of being good at something is sucking at it. And I have fully embraced that. So with real estate or anything hard, anything challenging, I know that all I have to do is just get by. And the longer I do it, the better I'll get. And we're going to go as fast as I can, but I don't need to be perfect. Mistakes are managed and risk is managed. Before I make a mistake, or before I put myself in a situation where I could make a mistake, I just have to ask myself, what's the worst thing that could happen if this thing goes wrong? And if the worst thing is unacceptable, then I don't do it. But if the worst thing is like, that would suck, but I can still walk away, then I will go ahead and do it.
That's good. And in my business alone, and I'm gonna jump to the next question, is that a lot of things I don't know what I'm doing, but God teaches me how to do it. And that's the whole point about following God. People miss opportunities because they feel they don't know how to do it, but God can put you in a position where He will train you for the position that He has for you.
Yeah.
And it don't matter about the mistakes because He's perfect. So that's the best thing about that. My next question is, what is your personal strength?
My personal strength is probably just that, just getting stuff done. And as a subset to that, I work really well with people. I know I can quickly identify who's good at what, or if they're struggling, if they're beginners, like what might they be good at and what should they focus on first? Like, this seems to be your strength. This seems to be your weakness, your opportunities, and here are the obstacles. And let's figure that out, like what you should be focusing on. That's exactly what we do in our investing club. We get a lot of new people in the club. We meet once a week, and people are always new people coming in. And to be able to quickly identify what somebody should start trying so that they don't have to go through all of the options and find out, I hate this, I'm bad at this, I don't like that. And then they get discouraged and they might quit. So let's try and get them started as close to their strengths as possible. So that's probably my biggest strength, is just being able to work with a wide variety of people and get people swimming in the right direction. It's a challenge for sure. It's definitely not easy for me, but it's something that I do enjoy doing. And I do eventually get people swimming in the same direction, given enough time.
That's awesome. My next question is, what do you love about life?
The variety. Tony Robbins said that humans need a certain amount of certainty and a certain amount of uncertainty. And the uncertainty, I try to create positive uncertainty, like going on adventures, trying new things, meeting new people, so that my variety is not negative or destructive. And some people will get in a fight with a loved one just because it was boring. The relationship was getting boring. And so they go out and they pick fights or create drama where drama doesn't need to be. And my favorite thing is to just figure out, like, what haven't I done yet? What sounds interesting? What looks good? And go do that. And that might imply that I spend a lot of time working in my weaknesses and things that I'm new at and things I'm not good at. I like to couple that with that underpinning of what I am good at, and always focus on that. So the best thing about life is just that there's just so much variety, and there's always a new adventure,
Mhm.
whether it's just watching a new documentary or it's climbing a mountain in some weird part of the world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. Now we're about to get to the core of your business, real
Yeah.
estate, what you and your husband got the fire for. What I want to know about your business, you know, you gave your why. Why did you and your husband choose real estate besides anything else?
Um, well, we're working on a new why.
Yeah.
right now, because the original why was so that he could not have to work a 9 to 5 or W-2, because back in his previous job, he really was only on call from 9 to 5. And so he was really working part-time. I was working part-time. We both spent a ton of time with each other. We spent a ton of time with the kids. And we always said the ideal setup is have both parents working part-time so that there's a lot of extra time to spend together and to spend with the kids. And then when he got a full-time 9 to 5, I don't know, it was probably 11 or 12 years ago, our lives have been very different. He's not around. He was commuting. He was working late, sometimes had to go on the weekends. It was just that part-time lifestyle that we had. And so I feel like the opportunity to get that back really motivated us. And now that he is no longer in the job, it's like, now what do we do? What's our new why? What's our new motivation? What's our new reason for
Your mic.
this job?
Mm.
Oh,
There you go. And I can hear you better.
yeah. This is the first podcast interview I've done since he lost his job. And so I actually recently started an accountability group where people are wanting to get more into commercial real estate, but they maybe are a little lost on what's going to be the most effective use of their time. And so I pledged to them, I said, during this accountability challenge, this next 6 weeks, I will find a new reason why we're going to keep going, or we're going to level up from here, because we reached our goal. And now we're like, okay, what's next? What's the next goal? So we are struggling with that a little bit right now. However, looking at how quickly we were able to go from W-2 and me not working, when we moved to Salt Lake City from Austin, I left my photography business behind and I had to basically reinvent my life. And so I started going to business meetups, and I came across real estate meetups. And I knew that real estate was my highest earning potential. And I already loved real estate. I was a real estate photographer in Austin for like 8 or 10 years. And I learned how to do graphic design by drawing floor plans. I love houses and looking at houses and being in architecture. I wanted to be an architect when I was a kid. So I do actually love the industry of real estate for the buildings, for the people who live in those buildings, and the stories that all of those people have. I love talking to my tenants and finding out who they are, where they're from, or when I was a photographer, like, where are you moving? You know, tell me about your next adventure. So I love real estate on its own, but I love a lot of things. And so I had to pick the one that had the highest income earning potential so that I could work part-time and still earn a full-time income. So that was where real estate came from. And I quickly learned that after I started, that not only could I make a full-time income with a part-time schedule, but that I could actually retire my husband. And so my goal shifted very, very quickly to retiring him from his W-2. And like I said, he just barely got laid off a couple of weeks ago. And now we just get to figure out what the next adventure is, which that excites me. I'm not sad or depressed that I need a new goal.
Wow.
I'm actually excited.
Wow, that's amazing. I can see the smile on your face. Like, you just, every time you talk about your husband, you just light up. Like, I like, no, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Just you've been willing to help him. Like, that's dope. That's dope. Like, and I can feel your energy. Like, I can feel your energy when you talk about your family. And you just playing a role. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Like, that's dope. That's dope. Um, my next question is, how did you guys get started? Did you guys get funded? Did you guys use credit cards? Or how did you get started?
We got started because we remodeled our house that we were living in back in Austin. And we had lived in the house maybe 6 years, and we completely redone it during that time. Like, it really only was the 3 walls, the front wall and the 2 side walls. We blew out the back, put an addition on, new roof, new floor plan, new plumbing, new electrical. I mean, everything was new. And so there was no surface or wall left untouched in that house. And so when we moved away from that house, we actually made quite a bit of profit on it, just from the forced appreciation that we put into the remodel, as well as the natural appreciation of living there for a few years. We weren't intending to move out of it. It was supposed to be our forever home. It was a little ranch, and we had our little homestead, our goats and our chickens and our garden. And we just thought, we're going to live here forever, right? And when he got laid off in 2017, it just turned everything on its head. He started applying for jobs, and he very, very quickly found a position in Salt Lake City. And I said, well, let's just go. Let's just leave. So he packed up his car and he left, and I hired some help to get the house packed up and moved, and we put it on the market, drove away, put it on the market. It was very fast, maybe just a couple of weeks from layoff to we're out of here. And because that layoff, we were not as prepared for. I was making maybe $30K a year as a photographer doing part-time. And he had a nice severance, but we just knew that we better get on it, right? It's very, very different to this time around. So, but in that 5 years between the 2017 and the 2022 layoff, basically what we did is to say, how can we prepare for this so that if you lose your job, because you will, you're in tech, what is going to be different next time so that we're not scramble around and terrified and panicking the way we are this time? And we were falling asleep one night. It was real quiet. Nobody's talking. And I just whispered in the dark. I said, I am so sorry that I put you in the position to be the sole income earner as a father of 6 kids. And I will never let this happen again. And that was what drove us for this last 5 years. Like I said, we settled on real estate because it was my best income earning potential. And then I just got to work saying, like, next time he gets laid off, it better be a congratulations instead of this terrifying event.
Man, hey, you awesome. You awesome. I like that, like your determination, like that for your family. Like I said, I keep going back to that because it stems back to your family. And I'm starting to see the big why,
Yeah.
to contribute with your husband, to add value to your husband. Like, you reinvented yourself, after all, having all these kids and, working, and like, if you don't constantly reinvent yourself in your relationship, how do you expect to
Mm-hmm.
survive? When I see you guys surviving because you guys, y'all a unit. Y'all a unit for
Yeah.
real. That's great. My next question is, what are your goals for your company?
Well, before he got laid off, we were thinking, like, how are we going to prepare for the layoff, like that final push?
Mhm.
And even more, how can you just quit? How can you just say, I'm not going to wait for the layoff, I'm just going to leave? I don't need a severance. I don't need any of that. We actually got lucky because he got laid off and he did get a severance. But the weekend before he got laid off, we went to a retreat with our new business partners and mapped out our private equity fund so that we can help more investors get into commercial real estate. We're putting out a lot of education material and just to allow people to put their cash in. And if they want to just collect mailbox money, great. Just come in through the fund. We will help you vet out deals, do our best to educate you. But if you want to be a little bit more hands-on and maybe level up to becoming an owner operator someday and maybe starting this as a new career, we have options for that as well. And so we basically just map that out. Like, how are we going to make some active income? Because our goal was 100% passive income. And we were like 50 to 80% there, and we weren't really quite ready to jump ship. I said, okay, well, let's figure out how to replace that little bit of active income that we still need. So fund management and sponsoring deals. We no longer purchase things ourselves. I mean, we might if a great one came along, but mostly we're looking for other operators that have great deals and raising capital into those deals. Whether it's from people, like I said, who want to be limited partners and just super hands off and just collect their check, or if they want to become more educated and eventually, like I said, maybe shift careers to do something similar to what we're doing. We have resources out there for them as well.
Man, y'all versatile. That's good. That's great. That's great. My next question is, like, how, like, did you guys get started with the fix and flips, or how do you just rush into what you're doing right now? But what did you?
I knew that I wanted to do commercial
Mm,
almost from the moment I just decided that real estate was going to be my next career. So we took that money from that house that we sold in Texas and we put a down payment on a house here in Salt Lake City. And then I used the rest of it for going to starting a real estate business. And so I intended to do a couple of fix and flips,
yeah.
but I ended up keeping them as rentals. So I've actually never flipped a house. So we had a couple of small rentals, and I said, we've got to be able to go do a commercial deal, which means we have to get a bigger network of people we can contact because we can't run this by ourselves. It's too many units. It's too difficult. We've never done it before. We can't even sign on our own loan because the bank is like, well, have you done this before? It's like, no. So that we needed to find people who were willing to partner with us. And in addition to that, raising capital. So I just worked on my little fix and flips or my little rentals while I was trying to find something to buy in the commercial space. And I found something and we made an offer on it, put a partnership together. But it was about a year and a half of doing our little portfolio that we knew was just temporary while we were looking for some commercial opportunities. So that's really how we broke into it. It was somebody from my network was selling her apartment complex and she
Okay.
just put it on Facebook. hey, does anybody want to look at my apartment complex in Idaho? And it was close to my husband's hometown. I said, yes, send me the information. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was able to reach out to people that I had been networking with. I had the short list of people I was going to call when I found a deal. I called them all. One really picked up on it and ran with it. And we still own that. That was the first thing we bought. And we've had that, I don't know, for a couple of years now, and it's stabilized and refinanced. And we've bought a bunch since then. But that was my first like owner operator commercial deal. And that's kind of the deal that taught me I shouldn't be an owner operator. Like the details and the day-to-day, yeah, it really gets to me. I think it's kind of annoying actually. And so that's what really helped me shift to raising capital and evaluating deals, but not running deals. And that's what our club does. We just meet once a week. It's a free club. People get together. We look at deals. If you want to invest in it, you can go off and create a joint venture. Sometimes I participate. Sometimes I don't. Depends if I have any money of my own at the time. But put your money in, and then we all go and collectively negotiate with the operators, basically to meet their incentive to get better terms. And they usually set that up in advance. They'll say, if you can bring in $500,000 to this deal, we'll give you a higher preferred return. If you bring in $1 million, we'll give you a seat at the table, because we want to protect that investment. And we want a say. We want to participate in the meetings. We want to help out, especially if things are not going well. We want to be available to say, what do we need to get done to get this thing turned around? And so we usually will just pool our money until we can hit that incentive that they're offering. And if they're not offering an incentive, we'll go speak to them directly and say, can you come up with something? Like, here's what we'd like. If we bring in $500 or $1 million to this deal, here's what we like. And then the club members use a website called TribeVest to create their joint venture. And then they go off and run their LLC and participate in that deal. And like I said, we just help people by giving them like an operating template for their company agreement, their operating agreement. We help them with like spreadsheets and figuring out equity splits and who's going to do what, and putting them in touch with an attorney if they need to, because we've already done all that for the first couple club deals that we did. And so if I'm not participating in one, we do have all of the resources there that they can just have basically for free, because we already paid for it at the beginning. And so the club for us is just a way to get our money at better terms in the deals that we do, and have a team of people evaluating deals, because it's like having a gym buddy, right? They're going to show up, you're going to look at deals, you're going to, sometimes you have to slog through it because it's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, a lot of complex terminology, just a lot of variables, a lot of factors. And so to have a team of people doing that with us in the club is fantastic. And then, like I said, we're branching out from there to open our private equity fund probably in February, so that we can start helping people who don't want to be hands-on. They'd rather just be hands-off.
And that's awesome. So what's your buying criteria?
We focus, our vanilla deal is a large multifamily that is maybe an institutional size, decent shape, value add, but not, a dump. And then we really focus on diversification opportunities from there. So we may do a few deals here and there that are outside of that mainstream, but that's mostly what we look at. But the nice thing is we're not running it. We don't have to be specialists. We can diversify outside of our bread and butter, because we can find people who are really good at that. That is their niche. That is their specialty. And we can invest with them, even though we don't know as much about it. If we wanted to run it ourselves, we wouldn't be capable, but we know that they can do it. So we're more useful in the multifamily deals than we are in the diversified deals. But those diversification deals, if we're in the general partnership, like I said, we have skills that are useful. We've got securities attorneys, we've got commercial insurance guys, you've got marketers, you've got people with operations experience, you got people with construction experience. And so it's like, what do you need? We can help out. And so that's our main lane, large multifamily with a few diversification deals thrown in there here and there.
What's the cap rate?
It really depends on the market and the condition of the property. So it's more about what the comparable properties cap rate is, and can we beat that? So I would, most of the markets we like, major markets, maybe not top tier primary markets like New York or San Francisco. We like to be in red states or low regulation states, but major markets. So Dallas, Houston, like Central Florida, areas like that. So the cap rates there are 4.5% to probably 6.5%. And then we have a few that are in more distressed areas that would be higher, like 7.5.
That's perfect. So we going to the last part of the interview. My next question: what are you guys up to now? You guys going to be mentoring, or you guys going to write ebooks? What are you guys up to now?
All of the above. With him not working full time, we're really ramping up our social media content and our educational content. So I've got an ebook right now that I'm putting out where it'll have a shorter free version and then a self-published on Amazon. And it basically just covers the 10 things you need to know to get started. It goes over cap rate, it goes over IRR and equity multiple, how to vet a team, just all the stuff you need to know, how to vet a deal, due diligence checklist. It's pretty extensive. It's about 100 pages. And that should be ready hopefully just after Christmas. I'm almost done with it. Probably just keep writing a lot of articles. We're vlogging our adventures because in March we're just going to take off and rent our house out and start driving. So we're going to go hike the Arizona Trail. It takes 2-3 months to hike across the state of Arizona with our kids. And then after that, we're going to head over to Florida, spend a couple of months there. And so we'll be vlogging all of that. Basically, it's like our passive income lifestyle adventures. Like, here's what your life can be like if you don't have to work a 9 to 5. And here's a family that's doing it. We did it in 5 years, basically, and we can show you how. So that's a focus of a lot of our upcoming social media. And to inspire people to, whether they're going to be limited partners or active partners, it doesn't matter. Whichever path you want to take, we can help you get there.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So this is my last question before we wrap up. What would you tell your old self? The one that was back with your husband when you're getting laid off, when everybody was panicking. What would you tell your old self?
He had another one of those nighttime like whispers right before we fell asleep where we're half asleep, and he just goes, and this was before he got laid off. He said, if we're ever going to be wealthy, it's going to be because of you. And that woke me right up. I said, wow, okay, that's a lot of pressure, but it put that seed in my head. Maybe 10, it had to have been 15 years ago when he said that. I should have told myself, instead of making money in your photography business or whatever you're doing and spending it on family vacations or whatever, right? Piano lessons, all that. You should use that money to go buy real estate investments. And then when the real estate investments start paying you, then you can take the family vacations. Then you can put your kids in piano lessons. But I was spending the money that I made instead of investing the money that I made and then spending the cash flow that spun off. That's the biggest mistake that I made. And the second is probably, again, like everybody says, I should have started sooner. I was probably 41 or something before we ever bought our first property. So I wasted a lot of years. And I think I blamed having so many kids and being so distracted. But now that I'm doing it with a bunch of homeschooled kids, I know how, and I could have gone back and done it back then with babies. I just didn't know how. And so I learned how because I was using all the babies as an excuse.
But you know the crazy thing about it, I don't think people say they should have started sooner. No, it was now your mentality now is different where it is then. And now you can just mentor people that that do have six kids, or that they can do it too. Your story going to motivate, because some people say, oh, I can't do it because I got this, I got that, because I have 6 kids myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got 6, and so I know the struggle, definitely when you're trying to manage everything, so but it's a blessing, to have. That's a big why. So where can the viewers find you if they want to do deals with you? They want to just get your ebook, where they can find you?
Yeah, I keep it all centrally located at my website. It's www.highrise.group. So HIGHRISE.GROUP. And if you go to /contact, I have all my socials there. I have my calendar there that you can put an appointment on. I have my phone number on there if you just want to text me. And we've got, Invest Now for our deals that are open right now for accredited investors. And it has a link where you can schedule a welcome call where you can see all of our investments and just start to get that relationship going and get to know each other. Because, you're not going to invest with somebody you don't know anything about, right? So just get a welcome call and let's get talking. And like I said, whether you want to be a limited partner or you want to be more active, just let's jump on a call and I can kind of help you go down the lane that you need. If you want to be active, get ready to drink from a fire hose. We got a ton of information. And if you enjoy that type of environment where you're kind of lost, but you just keep coming back and eventually you'll get it. That's exactly what we could provide for active investors. And if you want to be a little bit more hands off, then we try and just keep it as simplified as possible. So you can always keep going down the rabbit hole, but you get to choose how deeply you go. We want you to be confidently investing in deals as quickly as possible. and then keep learning as you're doing deals, because there's no better way to learn what you're doing than by doing it.
That's awesome. Emma, I want to say it was a pleasure, awesome pleasure having you and, speak about your family, highly about your family, speak about your business, your beliefs, it's been an honor because people need to hear your story. And that's why I got that. You one of the reasons why I have the platform. Like I said, I have 6 kids too, and just seeing
Yeah.
how you and your husband tag teaming this real estate and killing it in Utah and doing excellent things. And I know you guys want to continue to go higher, and I want to say thank you, for being a guest on my platform today.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully we can check in a year from now and say we have like 90 to 100% of our income is passive. We have room to grow, and we're really excited to see where this journey keeps taking us.
Most definitely. Till
Thank you.
till next, you're welcome. Until next time, please like, subscribe on I Am Bossman Bruce TV. Also follow me on Instagram. I Am Bossman Bruce 3.0. Also follow me on Instagram. Facebook at Bruce Bird. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.